I didn't go to the orgy.
You just told me that's where your friend was murdered.
Yeah, but I wasn't there.
You stood next to him as your friend was murdered. That's why you keep having those reoccurring nightmares.
No.
The release of the joke has to come eventually. You don't want to extend it too much because the audience will just lose their interest. So you have to tell me the truth, or else I'm just going to lose my interest as a therapist.
Release of what joke?
Release the punchline at an appropriate time. You can't keep running this gag over and over. Oh, I wasn't there. You mentioned it.
It's not a gag. I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
No.
So why do you keep having these dreams, do you think?
You're the therapist. Shouldn't you know?
Is it some other sort of cry for attention?
Cry for attention?
I only know what you tell me, and it seems like you're refusing to be honest with me. And my point of view is that your act needs some work.
My act? What are you talking about? This is my real life. I'm struggling here about my friend getting murdered at an orgy.
How was your therapy session?
Extremely productive. I was able to get a lot out of my client. He seemed a bit more confident and calmer after we were done.
Is it true that your client ran out of your office crying?
I didn't notice any tears. So feel free to share any of your concerns. So anything that's been keeping you up at night or causing you any distress, it is important that you let me know.
I keep having this nightmare about my friend getting murdered.
It's a reoccurring nightmare?
Yes.
And are you an accomplice to your friend's murder, or you're just a witness?
I'm a witness.
What exactly is happening in this dream that's causing you distress?
Well, he's at an orgy, and he gets stabbed, and there's nothing I can do about it.
If you feel comfortable sharing this, is this what happened in real life?
Yeah, at the orgy. It was during a gangbang, and yeah, somebody stabbed him.
Stabbed him at an orgy that you were also a participant of.
Wait a minute, what? No, I wasn't at the orgy.
Seems like a far-fetched premise, but go on.
I was in the dream. I'm at the orgy, but in real life, I'm not. I don't like orgies.
I'm not here to judge anything you do for thrills in your personal life. As long as it doesn't harm others, it's your prerogative. I'm waiting for the funny punchline, but...
Punchline? What are you talking about?
Comedy is all about derailing the audience's trail of thought. Because when you told me that your friend was mugged and he was murdered, and then you mentioned at the end that it happened at an orgy, you totally derailed my train of thought because I was not expecting that story to lead there.
Who said anything about stand-up comedy? I'm not doing stand-up comedy.
Meet the therapist who forces her clients to do stand-up comedy as a way to fix their problems.
I consider many of my clients to be stubborn children, so my recommendation of them to do stand-up is just one of those hard pills they're going to have to swallow, put on their big boy pants, and just go and get it done if they want to get better.
Was your therapy session helpful with confronting your recurring nightmares?
No, it was not. She kept talking about stand-up comedy. How does that help me?
It can be helpful. I mean, it might even help you encounter that dream again, use the reoccurring dream as more material, maybe punch up your setup a little bit, add some more detail, specificity, add some physicality. You can have some act outs of the orgy that you certainly didn't participate in, is what you're suggesting.
I don't understand anything you're saying right now. Like, I don't do stand-up. I don't do comedy. Like, what do you want from me?
I'm just suggesting, in addition to the therapy that you're coming to every week, perhaps taking a stand-up comedy class for beginners might be an effectual method of trauma reduction.
Are you trying to sell me on stand-up comedy?
I do have a website if you're interested.
Great. What's up for what?
My comedy coaching tips by Dr. Dalkey.
I don't need.
You know, initially you might encounter doubts, but as long as you just keep hitting those open mics and revise the joke, revise the setup, you know, spice up the punchline, it'll work. It'll eventually work. You may even want to perform in front of, you know, new audiences each time. Maybe even go to more orgies. I know you mentioned you didn't want to go to them, but I know it seems scary, but men like it.
Meet the therapist who forces her client to do orgies.
Sometimes you just have to confront your fears head on if you want to get rid of any insecurities you might possess.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So your solution to my recurring nightmare is to do stand-up comedy and do orgies.
As much as you possibly can, because you can't get better without practice. You gotta put in your 10,000 hours, and it sounds like in the orgy case, you gotta put in at least double that, no offense.
All right, can we start over, please? Can we just start all over, please?
Well,
My friend was murdered at an orgy. Let's start there, okay? My friend was murdered at an orgy. I keep having dreams about it, nightmares about it. I don't know anything else about comedy or orgies. None of that.
I mean, it sounds like you are obsessed with orgies.
I'm obsessed with orgies. No, you're obsessed with orgies.
You're the one that attended an orgy and had your best friend murdered there.
Lady, I was not at the orgy.
Were you at an open mic instead?
No,
And you were late to the orgy?
no, I was asleep.
You were asleep.
Yes, in my house.
Sounds like the typical schedule of a comic. You're busy sleeping, you can't reach your commitments.
Do you consider yourself as more of a prop comic or as a regular delivering jokes type comic?
Once again, I'm not a comedian. I'm a barista. I work at a coffee shop.
You work at a coffee shop as a barista. That's the analogy you're going to be using in your act.
Analogy? What are you talking about?
Orgy plus barista. Both those roles involve whipped cream.
And?
So the analogy you're going to be making is that in your double life, you're constantly getting jizzed on.
Ma'am, I just met you. How did we get to jizz?
Look, I like to cut through all the BS and get straight to the problem. I see that your act is struggling.
I don't understand. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about putting yourself out there. In order to grow as a person, you have to put yourself out there, whether on the grimy open mic stage, put yourself out there in your swinger clubs, swinger groups, wherever you're meeting these people and having anonymous sex with them, where your friend was horrifically murdered, yet you seem to be focused on your penis size. I mean, the jokes write themselves.
Wait a minute. I didn't say anything about my penis size.
You mentioned just 10 minutes ago that you begged your friend to take you to the orgy, yet he was murdered there. You were ashamed to be there, and you weren't paying attention because you were perhaps fondling one of the other orgy members, and your friend was brutally murdered, and the case still hasn't been solved.
How often do you attend orgies?
See, this is what was happening in the therapy session. Telling me, I don't do orgies. I don't like orgies. Why does everyone keep talking about orgies? I think she wants to be in an orgy. That's why she keeps bringing it up. Why else would she bring it up? Orgies are sick.
How did you choose to honor the legacy of your friend through orgy involvement, or naming a sex move after him?
No orgies. No orgies. Can we, like, talk about something I'm interested in? Like my nightmares?
Are you wearing this wig in your nightmare?
What wig? I'm not wearing a wig.
When you start performing in front of a live audience, your appearance is crucial. The first minute they decide whether they like you or not before you even get to your orgy jokes.
I don't have an orgy joke. I'm not even trying to get into stand up. All I'm trying to do is trying to get rid of my nightmares.
You can even start off with an appearance joke. Hey guys, my name's Joe Johson and I know what you're thinking. No, I don't brush it daily.
I feel like my head's gonna explode.
Well, before it does, I would like to use that wig for my own purposes because it is quite beautiful. It is one of the best Cher wigs I've ever seen.
Why do you keep talking about a wig? I'm not wearing a wig.
I mean, I can see the lace. I can see the lace mesh. In order to confront the trauma that you've experienced, you have to tell me the truth. I'm here to help.
Listen, lady. My friend was murdered. I don't like orgies. And I am not wearing a wig.
2 out of those 3 are blatantly false.
I'm just gonna leave. I can't do this.
Certainly. Feel free to leave whenever you want. I would suggest that you take off the wig and kindly place it on my table.
I'm not wearing a wig, okay? And even if I was wearing a wig, like, why would I leave it on your table?
Why would you do that? Because it is my form of payment. I just wasted 20 minutes of my time giving you life-changing advice. The least you could do is just leave your wig on my table.
I am not wearing a wig. You know, I'm not gonna do this right now. So I'm gonna leave. Thank you for your non-service, alright? So, see you mañana. Ah! What? What's wrong with you?
This will help you become viral. Comic gets wig ripped off at orgy? That's at least 1 billion hits. You're welcome.
How were you able to get your wig back?
Wig back. I'm not wearing a wig. I'm not wearing a wig. Why do everyone keep talking about a wig? This is not a wig.
This therapist stole her client's wig off of his head.
Shock therapy is a lot like shock comedy. You gotta make your audience stand up on their feet, even if your audience is just your trauma-ridden client.
How did you feel when your therapist ripped your wig off your head?
Listen, I'm sick and tired of everyone telling me I'm wearing a wig. This is not a wig. I'm not wearing a wig. It's not 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 a wig. How many more ways can I say this? I'm not wearing a... Ah!
Got his wig!